So all's good out there? And you're in Buenos Aires, right?
Exactly, yeah. I cannot say it with the same accent as you. But yeah, I'm in Buenos Aires, Argentina.
Do you speak Spanish?
I wish. Well, I'm learning Spanish, It's one of the three things I do. Uh, yeah, I'm
One of the three
picking up
things
Spanish.
you're learning, or
Say it again?
one of the three things you're learning?
I pretty much you want to kick in the interview at some point or
Yeah, it's recording right now, so we can just start.
totally, yeah, let's start because if I start speaking about Spanish, I start speaking about everything
Yes,
else.
you're in Buenos Aires. You're speaking Spanish. What's going on? You're learning the language?
Totally, yeah. I'm learning the language, To be honest, I've lived in so many Spanish-speaking countries. I spent maybe 6 to 9 months in Dominican Republic. I lived in Barcelona in Spain. I lived in Mexico, and I realized that I always procrastinated on learning another language. I'm Russian, and
Uh,
I speak English, and I thought, okay, I can. It pretty much does the job. But then I found myself not being able to communicate to a lot of people. And the funny thing is, my company also produces content for the Spanish-speaking market, only Spanish-speaking market. My whole team is pretty much Mexican and Spanish, and I'm like, okay, it's probably about time I actually learned the language.
yeah.
Uh,
So how are you learning it? Like, what's your go-to method? Rosetta Stone, or just like learning it on the streets, or what?
I did quite a bit of research actually on how to learn the language
Uh,
in the optimal way. The most common method I hear is, hey, get a Spanish-speaking girlfriend that doesn't speak any English, and you're gonna be good. So I haven't tried that one yet, but
yep.
essentially, for me, I realize, a lot of people in general, they try to hack things. There's like, what's the best way to do X, Y, and Z? What's the best way to learn a language, to make $1 million, to do X, I know, whatever it is.
Uh,
And for me, I realized that the best way to do anything in life is to enjoy the process and to make it fun,
hmm.
right? So the way I learn the language is just through conversations. I usually prepare for everything in life, but Spanish mainly and relationships. So I don't prepare for those things. I just kind of go with the flow.
Yeah.
And essentially, I have phone calls that are scheduled 3 times a week, and I just show up. And all I need to do is I need to show up. That's my method, and it's working so far.
Man, amazing. Well, so you're in Argentina right now. You're traveling. I mean, I feel like you're always in a different country. Like I don't know, every time I speak with you, you're like in Russia or Bali or Europe or I don't know. How do you do it? How do you stay sort of like uh, in the zone, focused? Like, do you have a routine? Do you have I don't know. How do you
To
work?
I guess to answer your question, how do I do it? I've been to over 70 countries by now. My family is pretty much nomadic. To understand the way I live, you need to probably understand the way my family raised me a little bit. So my parents, they were born in the Soviet Union, right? And if you've seen movies about Soviet Union, it's true. Essentially everything is the same, homogenized, and the thing that actually not many people know about the Soviet Union is you cannot travel outside of the Soviet Union. You literally could not
Hmm.
exit the country. And if you can, you need to apply, you need to be a good citizen, you need to pass all of the tests, and they assign you pretty much a KGB agent or something like this to make sure you don't mess anything up, right? So after the Soviet Union collapsed, my parents pretty much that knew about the world from TV and their geography class, which is highly censored, they're like, holy shit, there's the entire world for us to visit. And the beautiful thing about my parents is that the fact that they had me and my sister didn't stop them. They didn't feel like, hey, traveling with kids uh, is a burden. They're just like, okay, let's have some fun. Let's see what's out there. Let's see what's possible. So yeah, my parents started traveling. They took me everywhere. By probably the age of 16, I've been to, I know, 30 something countries, which was really cool. So I was always on the go with my parents. We had the base in Moscow, and at some point, so I want to live in the United States. I went to college in the States, and at some point my visa ran out in the States, and that's where I wanted to spend the most time. So I was just like, okay, what do I do? Where do I go? I didn't want to go to Russia because I've been to Russia. It's kind of common. I would not learn much new stuff, and I couldn't stay in the States. So I thought, okay, how about I go and find another Silicon Valley outside of Silicon Valley. That's where I was living before, and I thought, what if there is just a community of people who are like the ones that I already found, but somewhere else in the world? So yeah, I just packed my stuff and went on a journey to find another Silicon Valley, and went all over Asia, went all over Europe as well. Didn't find it, but it was a fun journey. It was a fun journey of exploration. And essentially, I'm nomadic, not by design probably, but by circumstance. No visa. I can stay here in Buenos Aires for 3 months, and I can stay in Europe for 3 months. Essentially, every country kicks me out after 3 months, and yeah, I gotta figure out where to go next.
Is that hard? Like, is that hard to, because you're trying to build a community of people, right? Like, is that hard to do when you're always traveling, or do things like technology kind of help that process a little bit?
Yeah, man, it's a great question. So there are usually two types of nomadic people in general. They're like nomads and they're slow mads. Slow mads are people who are taking it tranquilo, who are taking it easy, and nomads are the ones who want to explore the world and backpack through another Asian country or do whatever, chase experiences and try the way other people live in the world. So I've done a bit of that, just moving from one place to another, and then I realized how much energy you need to put into moving into a new place, finding your social circle, just having all the basic things figured out. So for me, it was like too much energy expenditure, and I became a quote unquote slow man. So what I do is I go to a new place and I try to stay for at least 3 months. I get my social circle build up, I get my routine, and yeah, and essentially I try to create a home in a new location within the first week. So I take care of all of the things that a hometown has to you. So it's probably your gym. It's a good, comfortable place to stay. It's a place to work from. It's a place to eat, and it's the people that you're surrounded by, right? So I come in, I try to get those things out of the way in the first few days, and boom, I find myself in a place I can call home. And I know in a few days, and I can spend the next 3 months and just exploring the place.
Yeah, so you get all the basics down, and then you're ready to work and create, because you're an entrepreneur. You have multiple different businesses. You're kind of always doing something, learning something. So to kind of find that balance is key, it seems.
Exactly. Yeah, man. I feel like the important thing is, if we have finite energy, if we have a finite things to worry about, then we can either worry about small things, like where am I going to sleep tonight, what I'm going to eat for breakfast, or we can worry about big things. And in order to be a successful entrepreneur, in my case, like I cannot worry about all of the basics. They will weigh me down. I'll just not be able to focus on building something big. And yeah, that's my perspective. I think you need to cut the noise, and you need to get stability, because if you have things that are stable, but things that are not as important to you that are stable, then you can have adventure in your business, adventure in your relationships, adventure in other places. You cannot have instability. You cannot be flexible in all areas of life. So that's kind of my angle. So if I want to do big things, I gotta get my consistency. I gotta get things I do not care about out of the way.
Hmm. So on top of that, on top of like the basics and getting those set, do you have any other sort of like techniques, whether it's like meditation or working out, or I saw maybe like you do ice baths. Like, do you still do stuff like that to kind of enable you to do those creative, adventurous things?
Totally, man. I think it's all about mind.
Mm,
And I really believe that somewhere along the way, from when we're kids to when we become adults, we unlearn to be curious about the world.
we unlearn.
We unlearn to to follow our genuine kid-like interest, because the world is inherently interesting. When kids see something, when they see something for the first time, when they see a dog, when they see, I know, um, a soap bubble, they get so excited, they get so enthusiastic, and I feel like a lot of adults, they lost it somewhere. Is it through the educational system? Is it through college? Is it through work? I do not know, but somewhere along the way it's lost. So for me to answer your question, like what do I do? What do I do to keep myself kind of excited or mindful? What I try to do is I try to follow my curiosity in everything, and and I think once you allow yourself to do new things and to be like a kid, to explore the things you've seen before, but to explore them from a new angle, that's where the infinite world begins. Because you can go skydiving only that many times. You can do all the epic things only that many times. And I've done a lot of them. And at some point in my life, I remember when I tried all of the biggest bucket list items, I got a little depressed. I was like, hey, it's like if I go do another like big thing, I ran with the bulls, for example, in Pamplona. I went kite surfing on Necker Island with Richard Branson.
Yeah,
I
tell me about these big things, because these are huge, I think, sort of milestones or experiences that I think a lot of people have in their mind. Oh, someday I'll do something like that. But you're like in your early 20s and you're like, I'm gonna crush this. I'm gonna get it done. I'm gonna do it right now. How did you, first of all, decide that you wanted to do those things? And then how did you make these things happen?
I love the question. How do I do this? That's actually quite a bit to unpack in this simple question. Why is bucket list something that we want to do before we die, but we write a bucket list only when we're old, just culturally, or whenever we write it? And bucket list is supposed to represent the experiences you want to have in life. So why would I procrastinate on things that makes life epic and only do them when I'm old? Am I going to skydive with crutches, or like what is that all about? What if I do not want to do those things anyways? How do I know who I am if I do not allow myself to experience the things that life's supposed to be about, that are exciting? Uh, Whatever it is. So for me, how do I do this? The most important thing I realize is that, first of all, how can I not do this? Why in the world do we procrastinate on living our lives? And planning without execution, without testing any of our hypotheses about like what excites us, is stupid. It's just useless. So for me, I realized, hey, I want to learn who I am. I want to live an interesting life, and I want to follow my curiosity. So I just had to not only think about what I want to do, but I had to actually go and execute.
Mm,
And along the way, hopefully I find what makes life meaningful, right? That's kind of how I do this. I just go and do it, because it doesn't make sense to wait.
mhm.
And that's a big message I want to communicate to people
Yeah.
who might feel fearful to go start, or to allow themselves to experience what they want to experience. Honestly, it's as easy as buying a ticket to a remote country that where you've never been. You gotta burn the bridges, and you gotta just commit to living a life where where you do what you want to do. It's your responsibility at the end of the day. We don't have two shots at life. We only have one.
Hmm. So it seems like at first it kind of starts with that idea, that intention. I'm going to live this epic life, and then you got to kind of take one step to start to make that happen. But then when you get into things like, for example, you went kite surfing on Necker Island, met Richard Branson, like how do you make something like that happen? Because those sorts of things that involve different people and sort of like interesting places, like does that just kind of naturally unfold when you set that intention? I don't know. Can you break that down for me?
Totally. The biggest limitation of what's possible and what's not possible in our heads, and this is the biggest cliche in the world. People say believe in yourself or whatever else it is, and you will be able to accomplish it. And I'm not going to repeat it, but it is true. A lot of those cliche sayings are true. In my case, I was 19 years old and I just woke up maybe at 5 a.m. and I brought my best friends. There were two of them, and I said, "Hey guys, let's go and meet the sunrise, and let's write down our bucket lists." It was in college on I know a Tuesday or Wednesday, and they just said, "Hell yes." So we ended up writing our bucket list and meeting the sunrise in the morning. And the idea was to write things as if there were zero limitations, as if anything was possible. So I started writing down my bucket list. I had obviously skydiving, I had some other experiences, and one of the first 10 things I wrote was kite surf with Richard Branson on Necker Island. I love Richard Branson. I love kite surfing. I know Richard Branson likes kite surfing, so it was kind of a natural thing. And then, so I wrote it down, and the beautiful thing is when you know what you want, and when you're committed to actually doing it, as opposed to having a wish list. If you're like, okay, what can I experience today, or what can I experience this month, or this year, or this decade? What can I do? So I had some of the cool experiences. I thought, okay, how can I make it how can I actually make it happen? So I was 19 years old. I had a virtual assistant that was helping me with some small things. I didn't know much about project managing virtual assistants, but I did read the 4-Hour Work Week, and I got really enthusiastic about the ability to essentially outsource your life to somebody else and leverage yourself. Right. So there was an assistant, and I thought, okay, what do I need to do in order to meet Richard Branson in the first place? And then, okay, I need to figure out where he hangs out. So I hit up this virtual assistant and I said, hey, I want you to prepare a spreadsheet for me on all places where Richard Branson is going to be pretty much during the next year and a half. Right, so she went online, she did her research, she comes back with a spreadsheet of all places, and I just go through the spreadsheet and I look at different places where he's going to be. I click the links, and then I click one link. I'm in the Silicon Valley at the time, and I click at one link, and there's this private event for kite surfers and technology. I'm like, holy shit, no way! I love kite surfing, I love technology, and what is it? So I look at this, and the event is on Necker Island. It's a private event on Necker Island. I'm like, this is exactly what I want. It's like, okay, how do I get in? And I keep scrolling. Millions of thoughts are going through my mind. I keep scrolling, and then I see the pretty much the judges that are going to be on a panel at this entrepreneurship competition. It's less than 100 people. It's the finals for something that's called the Extreme Tech Challenge, where pretty much the top companies and technologies get to present it to Richard Branson and two other judges. One of the two other judges turns out to be Tim Draper. Tim Draper is a billionaire venture capitalist, and I went to his acceleration program. I went to his farm. We hung out a bunch, and I feel like I got mentored quite a bit by him. But I know Tim Draper, and Tim Draper knows me. So I'm just like, okay, so I know Tim Draper. There's this amazing event, but how can I get into this private event in the Caribbean? Right? And how can I not pay $1 million to do this?
Hey.
So I thought, how can I ask somebody like a successful billionaire to invite me to the competition? So I thought, what is he interested in? And from there, I thought, okay, I write him an email. I say, hey, Tim, I saw you're going to be judging at this competition. I'd love to represent the acceleration program and all of the entrepreneurs that went through your program on the island. And I pretty much want to be your advocate. I want to be your assistant, whatever. He responds, and I also like drop some cool things I've done to help him as well in the past. Not in the way it's like, hey, I helped you before, but kind of just to show goodwill, good intention that hey, I've been a well-intentioned human being who wants to promote your cause, right? So he responds back. He's like, "Hey man, I'm not sure if I'm going to be there at the event myself. I kind of have to be somewhere else, but you should totally go." And he pretty much copies this girl who runs this thing, who organizes, and he's like, "Renat will come instead of me." I was like, "Dude, I'm coming instead of a billionaire to Richard Branson's island. That's amazing." So boom, I got the ticket. I could go to Necker Island, and you see, it's again. I wrote it down. I thought, how can I actually make it happen? Then I did the small step, which is just figuring out where Richard Branson is going to be. I figured out a point of contact and how I can be useful, and then I got the ticket. And yeah, after that, I got to the island, which was really cool. I met some outstanding entrepreneurs, outstanding human beings, and the truth is there are two types of tickets. One type of ticket was for the finalists, for the VIPs, and there were like around, I don't know, 15 of those folks. And the other one was the general ticket for everybody else. And with my, I know, then 20-year-old hustle mentality, I thought, how can I, now it's already a sweet deal, but how can I hang out with like the VIPs, and how can I go earlier on the island and meet more folks? So the guys, they emailed everybody the same information. If you're the VIP, show up here at this time, and if you're the regular ticket holder, show up there at this time. And it's probably a little bit of an asshole-ish move, but I thought, hey, what if I just come and see what happens? And there's like, come on in, guys, let's do this, So we hop on the boat. We're on our way to Necker Island.
You're part of the VIP group.
Yeah, I'm the part of the VIP group. I got my kite. I brought my kites with me, right?
Okay.
And everybody's so passionate about kite surfing. It's such a chill environment in general. So I just started talking to everybody about just everything from entrepreneurship to kite surfing to life. As we're on the boat, we're hanging out. The guys meet me. The organizer that Tim Draper introduced me to. She's like, "Hey, Renat." She knows me by my name. It's like, "How's it going? We're excited to see you." And then here's the funny thing. So we go up to the top of the island. It's called the Great House, and we get greeted and everything. And then maybe 20 minutes in, the organizer comes to me and she's like, "Renat, you know what? I didn't realize it, but I don't think you got the quote unquote big ticket, right?" So I was like, okay, fuck, what do I do? How can I be creative? Again, how can I be creative? What can I make out of this? And I was like freaking out. I'm like an outsider, 20 years old. Like most of the guys are hyper successful human beings. I'm like still a kid trying to hustle, but I want to be respectful. I want to be a nice person. I want to contribute to people, right? Of course. So I thought, since it's a community for pretty much kite surfing entrepreneurs, and I love kite surfing, how about I just go kite surf, and when the time comes for everybody else to come, I just come back with everybody else. So I just wanted to kite surf. It's not a big deal. So as I told the girl, I said, how about I just go to the beach, I kite surf, I come back in 3 hours, and we're chill. And she's like, sounds like a good idea. So I get my kites. I go to the island. So I'm pretty much on the island. The VIP guys are entertaining themselves and doing their thing. So I got my kites. I go to the beach. And the first thing I see is Richard Branson and Susie, my professional kite surfer. They're about to film a piece of content for one of the startups that's about to present.
No way.
I was like, holy shit, this is it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm on the beach. Got my got my kites blown and I'm ready to go in the water, and Richard Branson is right there. He got his kite on. Actually, before that, I see Richard Branson. I'm just like, hey man, I give him a hug, just said a quick hi. He was busy, filming his thing, and yeah, got my kite. He got his, and we went kite surfing literally like next to each other. That was my kite surfing with Richard Branson story. And here's the thing, like all of the individual steps, they weren't that difficult. They weren't that really revolutionary, or it didn't require masterminded genius. All I wanted to do is I wanted to just think different and do different.
Hmm. And you just kind of went with the flow. As the situations came up, you're like, all right, what do I do now? You adapt it.
Exactly.
You reflect.
Exactly. Yeah, you just put one foot in front of the other, because planning 10 steps ahead is useless. You never know how things are going to turn out.
Yeah. Interesting, man. So I mean, right now, what you're doing, that was an epic story. You're living sort of an epic story. One thing that you talk about a lot is the kind of value of stories in your life. Have there been a few stories in your life that have kind of inspired you to go out and kind of create yours?
Stories of other people, right, that inspired my journey.
Hmm.
To be very honest, I didn't realize how much I've been driven by stories since I was a kid. I thought, oh, I just have my motivations. I'd never questioned where they came from. But all my life, I wanted to live an epic story, and stories play a massive role in my life. Richard Branson's story is one of them. Richard Branson's story is the reason I wanted to hang out with him in the first place. That kid, he just went for things. He wanted to he wanted to have fun while building interesting businesses. For example, he bought a manor. This is a massive mansion just outside of London, I believe, and he set up a recording studio where he produced some of the coolest bands at the time that got really popular. I don't remember which ones exactly, but he just had this idea of having awesome people hang out and kind of see what happens. People could come to Manor for free, spend as much time as they want, and Virgin Records produced it. The story that he had beforehand, he was doing like pretty much the modern version of drop shipping of music records, and he created the first store. He just had a place where people could hang out and listen to music, right? Instead of like having them in and out, so that they buy and they're gone. So just the way Richard Branson thought, the fact that he is dyslexic, and he cares about people. He cares about creating great environments for people to do things. He's a big philanthropist that is currently working on Virgin Galactic, which is a company that would send people on a tiny rocket ship to pretty much go into the stratosphere and see a little bit of Earth from that
Yeah.
perspective. Um,
Uh-huh.
it's fascinating. Like a lot of things about him, they fascinated him, and that's why I wanted to hang out. Elon Musk is a massive example that inspires not just me, but at least 31 million other people on Twitter. But he's just the impersonation of Tony Stark, of somebody who from from pretty much South Africa was able to achieve the biggest things, invent things that have never been done before, transform like 6 or 7 different industries. Those stories inspire me, and they inspire me because all of those people, in this case, I guess two, they were pursuing their curiosity as well. They were just interested to see what they can do. They were interested to see how can I make my my vision possible? How can we make life multiplanetary? How can we stop our reliance on carbon fuels? How can we, for example, build a great company culture where people actually enjoy going to work? And I think it's natural curiosity
Hmm.
that got folks there, and I think I got a lot of that curiosity rubbed off.
What is so? I mean, that's it's huge, right? Because curiosity is kind of like this motivator. It's energizing. When you have this idea in your head, it gets you out there to go try different things, experiment. So like you've done a lot of different things. You've had a lot of different big experiences, started many different businesses. For you, like what is that curiosity for you? Like could you sum up what yours is? What is it that kind of drives you on this journey?
That's a fantastic question. Yeah, at some point you kind of start seeing patterns in terms of what you're getting drawn to. For me, it's learning. It's learning, it's growth. I specifically love that feeling when you suck at something really, really bad and you see that little progress. You see yourself doing something a little bit better, run a little bit faster or farther, and so just growth and learning is massive. Um, it's motivating as well because when you see growth, you see progress, and that's something that we're I think naturally drawn to. I like that. I like the feeling of freedom, just physically. I love riding motorcycles. I love riding motorcycles. It's something that just gives me amazing joy. The feeling of freedom physically, like when I kite surf, I could go in 3 dimensions. If I want to jump 20 meters up, boom, I go jump 20 meters up. I ride the waves. I do so much stuff of kite surfing. I hang out. I'm in the ultimate state of flow. The state of flow is actually what triggers that euphoria, right? When I'm riding motorcycles or when I kite surf or when I do some physical exercises, like I just signed up for like a boxing CrossFit gym. I lose myself, and yeah, I lose the feeling of self itself, um, and and it's actually on the biochemical level. I'm getting all of the dopamine and all of the chemicals that drugs would induce, but in natural ways and in reproducible ways.
Hmm, yeah. And all these things that you're doing when it gets you in the flow state, essentially that's helping you kind of on your on your mission, right? What it is that you're doing for the world. Because like it seems like you've got all these incredible things you want to do for yourself, and you want to understand yourself and explore who you are and kind of be the best version of you. But at the same time, like I look on your website and your 40-page manifesto, you're like, I want to straight up change the world. So how maybe we can just dive straight into that. What is this big vision slash mission of yours, and why did you write a 40-page open source manifesto on this?
Hell yes, hell yes. Let me dive into it. Just before I dive into like why I wrote a 40-page document explaining what I want to achieve in life and open sourced it. I wanna just briefly touch on just mission in general. You know, it's very common that we need to have some sort of purpose or mission in life or something that we should dedicate our lives to, right? And I feel like the personal development industry has taught us that it's all within us. We know what we want to create, and all we need to do is just go do it, right? And if we are not feeling motivated enough, well, guess what? Maybe it's something else, but it's all within you. And then I thought, what if we look at this whole thing from a completely different perspective? What if instead of saying, I know, what if I say, how the fuck do I know? Like, how do I know what I care about? How do I know what my mission is? How do I know what I want to dedicate my life to? What if I assume that I am actually not knowledgeable, but how about I assume that I'm ignorant? And from the place of ignorance, from a place where you say, I do not know what life is about, it's such a revelating feeling because I can be anything now. I'm not constrained to anything out there. There is no there is no thing that I need to follow. And so for me, the way the journey probably started is I really wanted to figure out who I am, what makes me me, and I want to understand the world. And to be honest, I tried a bunch, like trying to really dig deep and figure out what it is that I want to create, how I want to contribute. But a lot of the times it was bullshit. It was bullshit, even though I said the mantra in the morning, I read the thing, but it wasn't it. So yeah, I wanted to learn about the world and about myself from experience and have the evidence for saying I actually like that. I actually care about that mission. I actually want to contribute in that way, right? So the manifesto, and it is very related to lifestyle engineering, which I'll tell you more about. But the manifesto is essentially it's my way to create hypotheses about what I think I want, not what I want, not what my mission is, but what I think it should be, and it's a document that pretty much looks at 9 different areas of life, for example, from mind to body to relationships to impact, and it unpacks in those 9 categories the the type of life I want to live, and what I want to experience in those areas. And I thought if I create those hypotheses, I can go and test them and I can see if I like them or I don't. And it's not something I write and it's going to be there for my entire life. And I'm going to wake up in the morning every day and read it and tell it to all my friends and build thought leadership around it like everybody else is doing. It's my hypothesis list. It's something that may or may not be true. And the farther I go in the process, the more confidence I get that it is either true or it's not true. So it's a living document. It's a living document. It's a living thing. So it's pretty much my projection for the next 10 years of where do I want to be, what type of things do I want to do, and what I did is I open sourced it. So the reason I wanted to share it with the world, it's in Google Docs, and it's a document where anybody, you can go right there, right now, read it, and you can pick the segment, you can comment there, and you can say, hey, Renat, based on what I know about life, based on what I know about you, I think it's complete bullshit. Have you tried looking at it from this angle? I'm just like, holy shit. I can get a feedback loop on life. I can get a feedback loop from people I respect, from my friends. I'm ignorant, I do not know what I do not know. And people can see it from the third person's perspective. They can call out my bullshit. So that's where open sourcing came from. And I had quite a few people contribute to it, comment, call me out, and I've changed it a bunch. And it's been a beautiful, beautiful way to put my hypotheses out so that I can test them and I can gain more confidence about who I am and about how the world is.
Have you had anybody just go in and change stuff without you
Well, they
knowing?
can only comment, right?
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
Yeah. I actually never gotten it, I've never gotten it. I got some very, very insightful feedback that got me to think. I got some contradictory opinions, hey, this is driven by ego or whatever the fuck, For me, it's like, bring it in, I wanna see what's there. And yeah, I want to take it from a humble perspective. So never, honestly, hundreds of people have read it. Yeah. Never gotten any malicious folks trying to like delete it or draw dicks on it. People really connect. People really connect, and and I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, that's amazing. Everybody's in it together, and I think when you're inspiring, I mean, people look at you and they think, man, this guy he's inspiring. So they want to contribute to whatever it is you're going to create. You've kind of built this momentum. You're going places, and I think people want to join. So I'm curious, what's your hypotheses? Do you have a couple big ones that you're working with right now that are kind of driving you?
That's a good question. So there are different hypotheses. For the biggest one that I've been working on right now, and that's what my upcoming book is about, lifestyle engineering. The biggest hypotheses that I'm trying to pretty much test is what's the big question I'm trying to answer is what's the meaning in life? Well, the meaning that we create for ourselves, right? And what do we want to dedicate our lives to? And I've been a person. Funny thing. A lot of people think of millennials as people who cannot commit to one thing, who cannot ever make a decision, who want to keep all of the possibilities and doors open. Who never finish the project they start. That's me. That's me. I'm the person who doesn't have one sentence. I know one sentence brand brand promise statement or anything of that nature. I've been always fascinated by a lot of things. I'm fascinated by technology, fascinated by education, fascinated by autonomous vehicles and artificial intelligence, and I could keep the list going. And so there are a few areas that I've identified and that I feel very strong about. So currently I'm thinking about what do I want to dedicate myself to, because I know if I do everything, I will not be successful. How can I pick something that's more important than other? All of those things fascinate me. All of those things are important to me. But the current thing I'm trying to understand is which which one of my interests. And in my manifesto, I actually talk about the impact I want to make, but it's not a singular impact. It's like, hey, I want to just transform education and make people actually more excited to go to school than to go play football with their peers. It's not just that. So I see a lot of tremendous value in this, and this is something I want to create. But I also see value in in other things too, in creating artificial intelligence that can allow us to be more creative and could save us time, that can automate mundane tasks and empower us, you know. So yeah, that's the biggest challenge I have at the moment. It's like choosing what it is. And the more I dive into each sector, the more I understand if it's close to me or if it's not, or how I can do it.
So your mission right now that you lay out in your manifesto and on your website, can you share that and explain what that means?
Totally, totally. And my mission has evolved a bit thanks to the document.
Yeah.
Just the important thing to mention is if we do not have a mission statement, then it's kind of in our head and we do not see how it changes. If we put it on paper, put it on manifesto, if we put it somewhere, then we can question it more. Because if it changes in our head, it's like, oh, I have a new thing, and it's just there, and that's something that you start talking about. But if it's on paper, you have to go to that mission statement, and you have to ask yourself, why was it wrong? Like, what did I do wrong? Why has it changed? So that's really important. So at the moment, what I want to do, what I see my mission as, and it will evolve. I'm refining it, but I want to create more curiosity in the world. I want to empower people to be more curious, and I want to create more mission-driven companies and individuals. And mission-driven to me is has to do with the calling that people see, with the impact people want to make, with the change that they want to create in the world. And from that place, they create a mission for their life, for their business, for whatever it is. So I really feel like if people allow themselves to be curious about everything and found the thing that they love, and if everybody loved what they're doing, then the world would be a significantly better place, because it will be coming from a place of passion, from a place of love. And I want to see the passionate and loving world, so, and that's something I want to do. I want to spark more mission driven companies, and I want to allow more people to be following their curiosity. So that's pretty much my mission statement:
Yeah,
sparking curiosity in mission-driven um, organizations, I guess.
that's incredible. I mean, I think that's one thing that, I mean, you look around and anxiety is rising, depression levels are rising. People, I think we're in this sort of transitionary phase where people are looking for meaning. They're looking for purpose. They're looking for something that's going to kind of get them fulfilled and help fulfill others. And I think this kind of hits it on the head. What's also
Yep.
interesting is that, oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you see we live kind of in the world of social media, but also the important thing to understand outside of social media is that before, say, 100 years ago, life was significantly more difficult. You needed to work more to afford food on the table. 100 years ago, there was no refrigeration. You know, affording cars were so much more expensive. Everything was so much more difficult. And in order to learn something, you need to go to a library. Can you imagine? You don't ask Google, you go to the library and try to find the book in your local library. Can you imagine you're living in a small village somewhere?
Yeah.
You are beyond ignorant and you cannot even possibly have access to information. So people, I feel like people were busier back then, and people didn't have the chance to explore, if even if they wanted to, as much at least, right? And right now we have more possibilities. We can work from anywhere else, anywhere in the world we want. We don't have to worry as much about putting food on our tables. We can learn anything, and we have those supercomputers in our pockets where we can get any information we want in a matter of seconds, and we can see how other people live as well, and we can compare ourselves to others as well, right? So
Which can be
that
scary.
obviously. Say it
That
again.
can be a scary sort of game to play.
It is scary, and that does mess with our minds. Instant gratification, um, instant gratification makes us reactive, and it pretty much takes away the thinking before the gap between having a thought and jumping into that thought. We just jump into whatever comes, and meditation actually helps to have that pause before we accept and start contemplating something. So not to go into meditation or mindfulness or anything of that nature. Yeah, a depression, anxiety. I feel really connected with those issues, and I think I really believe in human species, and I think we're in this interesting time when people do not know how to create put brakes on their addictive habits that multi-billion-dollar companies engineered so that you consume their content. But I believe in humans so much so that I think that eventually, years from now, maybe a decade from now, we will learn how to handle infinite information and how not to jump into it, how to build healthier relationship with technology. I really think that we'll figure it out. The Gen Z, the people who were born after 2000, I think those guys they will learn how to put brakes on things that just take us away. And I really think that, eventually technology companies.
You're breaking up. It's like they heard us.